Get out! Get out of my office! Right now!
I have one more thing to ask you. Will you marry me, Naomi Williams?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Ji-hoon. I love it.
Six weeks. That's how long Ji-hoon had been showing up. 6 weeks of scheduled meetings at parks and museums and ice cream shops. 6 weeks of supervised visits where Naomi watched his every move like a hawk monitoring prey. 6 weeks of him proving that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't the man who'd walked away anymore. Wednesday afternoons had become sacred. 3 p.m. at whatever location Naomi designated. Ji-hoon was never late. Not once. Not even by a minute. He'd learned quickly that Naomi's forgiveness, if it even existed, would be earned in increments so small they were almost invisible. Every punctual arrival, every appropriate gift, every careful word, they all added up to something, though he wasn't sure what yet. Today they were at the Central Park Zoo. Kiara pressed her face against the glass of the sea lion tank, her breath fogging the surface as she squealed with delight. Ji-hoon crouched beside her, matching her eye level, pointing out the sea lions as they dove and twisted through the water. "That one's showing off," he said, his voice warm with amusement. "See how he's doing flips." "He's silly," Kiara giggled, her hand reaching out instinctively and grabbing Ji-hoon's. The gesture was so natural, so unconscious, that it made his breath catch. She held his hand like it belonged there, like it had always belonged there. Naomi stood 3 feet away, arms crossed, watching. Her face was carefully neutral, but Ji-hoon had learned to read the micro-expressions she thought she was hiding. The slight tightening around her eyes when Kiara laughed at his jokes. The way her jaw clenched when Kiara called him Mr. Ji-hoon with such easy affection. The barely perceptible softening of her mouth when she thought no one was looking. She felt something. Whatever this was building between him and their daughter, it affected her. He could see it even when she tried to hide it. "Mommy, look!" Kiara called out, finally noticing her mother wasn't right beside them. "The sea lion is dancing." "I see, baby," Naomi said, moving closer but maintaining that careful distance she always kept from Ji-hoon. Never too close. Never close enough that they might accidentally touch. They moved through the zoo slowly, Kiara's hand alternating between holding her mother's and reaching for Ji-hoon's. Each time those small fingers wrapped around his, Ji-hoon felt something break and heal simultaneously in his chest. This was his daughter, his child. 4 years of her life he'd missed and could never get back. But he had this moment, and the next one, and maybe, if he was lucky, all the moments after. At the gift shop, Kiara's eyes locked onto a stuffed sea lion, purple and ridiculously oversized. She hugged it to her chest with the kind of desperate love only a child could muster. "Can I have it, Mommy, please?" Naomi glanced at the price tag and didn't even flinch. Money had stopped being an object for her years ago. "Of course, sweetheart." But Kiara turned to Ji-hoon instead, holding up the toy. "Mr. Ji-hoon, do you like him?" "I think he's perfect," Ji-hoon said seriously. "What are you going to name him?" "Buddy too, because I already have Buddy the dinosaur that you gave me." Something in Naomi's expression shifted. Ji-hoon saw it. That flicker of something that might have been pain or might have been something else entirely. He'd given Kiara that purple dinosaur at their first cafe meeting 6 weeks ago, and she still had it, still slept with it, according to the few details Naomi allowed him to know about their daughter's life. They paid for the sea lion and left the gift shop, Kiara chattering about how Buddy and Buddy too were going to be best friends. The September air was crisp, autumn just beginning to hint at its arrival. Families walked past them, couples holding hands, children running ahead of their parents. Normal people living normal lives. Ji-hoon wanted that so badly it physically hurt. Ice cream? He suggested, looking at Naomi for permission like he always did. Like he always would, until she decided otherwise. Naomi checked her watch. They still had 20 minutes left of their allotted hour. Fine. But then we need to go. I have dinner plans. Dinner plans. With him. With Aiden. Ji-hoon had seen them together twice now, accidentally, in the city. Once outside a restaurant in Tribeca. Once at a gallery opening that Ji-hoon had attended for business networking. Aiden's hand had been on the small of Naomi's back, possessive and comfortable. She'd been smiling, relaxed in a way she never was around Ji-hoon. It had taken everything in him not to walk over there. Not to cause a scene, not to remind Aiden that the woman he was touching had once been his wife. That the beautiful child she'd brought to the gallery opening was his daughter, even if no one else knew it yet. They found a vendor cart and Ji-hoon bought 3 ice cream cones. Chocolate for Kiara, vanilla for Naomi because he remembered that's what she always ordered, and strawberry for himself. He handed Naomi hers and their fingers brushed for just a second. She pulled back, like he'd burned her. "Thank you," she said stiffly. They sat on a bench, Kiara between them, swinging her legs and talking about the sea lions and the penguins and how she wanted to be a marine biologist now instead of a paleontologist. Or maybe both. Ji-hoon assured her you could be anything you wanted to be. Naomi stayed quiet, eating her ice cream in small, controlled bites. "Mr. Ji-hoon," Kiara said suddenly, looking up at him with those eyes that were so heartbreakingly like his own. "Do you have a family?" The question landed like a grenade. Ji-hoon's throat tightened. He glanced at Naomi, whose face had gone carefully blank. They'd talked about this. He wasn't allowed to tell Kiara the truth yet, not until Naomi decided it was time. "I have people who care about me," he said carefully, "and I care about them. But like, a wife? Kids? No wife. No. Other kids." "That's sad." Kiara took a big lick of her chocolate ice cream, completely unaware of the emotional warfare happening in the adult conversation. "You should get a family. Families are nice." "I'm working on it," Ji-hoon said quietly, his eyes meeting Naomi's over their daughter's head. Naomi looked away first. She always did. When their hour was up, Naomi stood and brushed invisible crumbs from her designer jeans. "Time to go, Kiara." "Already?" Kiara's face fell. "But we didn't see the monkeys yet." "Next time," Naomi said firmly. "Will there be a next time?" Kiara asked, and the question was directed at her mother, but her eyes were on Ji-hoon. "Yes," Naomi said after a pause that felt like eternity. "Next Wednesday. Same time." Kiara launched herself at Ji-hoon, wrapping her small arms around his waist in a hug that nearly knocked him over. He froze for a second, overwhelmed, before carefully hugging her back. His eyes burned. He blinked rapidly, refusing to cry in front of Naomi, refusing to show just how completely this child had destroyed and rebuilt him. "Bye, Mr. Ji-hoon," Kiara said, pulling away and grabbing her mother's hand. "I'll take good care of Buddy too." "I know you will." He watched them walk away, Naomi's spine straight and rigid, Kiara skipping beside her with the stuffed sea lion clutched in her free arm. They didn't look back. Naomi never looked back. Ji-hoon sat back down on the bench and let himself have 1 minute. Just 1 minute to feel everything he kept locked away during their visits. The grief of 4 missed years. The joy of getting to know his daughter. The agony of loving a woman who looked at him like he was a stranger. The desperate hope that maybe, someday, she'd look at him differently. His phone buzzed. A text from his assistant in Seoul. "Sir, your father is demanding to know when you're returning. The board meeting has been postponed twice. They need you here." Ji-hoon stared at the message for a long moment before typing back. "Tell them I'm handling critical business in New York. My return date is TBD. With respect, sir, What business is worth this extended absence? He looked at the spot where Naomi and Kiara had disappeared into the crowd, then typed, "Something more important than the company." His assistant's response came quickly. "Understood, sir. I'll handle your father and the board." Ji-hoon pocketed his phone and stood. He had the rest of the evening to kill before he could allow himself to think about next Wednesday. 7 days felt like an eternity when those few hours with Kiara were all he lived for now. That same evening, across town in Naomi's penthouse, a very different scene was unfolding. Kiara sat at the kitchen island doing homework while Naomi prepared the dinner. Well, supervised dinner preparation. Her housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, did most of the actual cooking, but Naomi liked to be present, to make Kiara feel like they were doing something normal together. "Mommy, I really like Mr. Ji-hoon," Kiara said, not looking up from her coloring worksheet. "He's nice." Naomi's hand stilled on the wine glass she'd been about to pour from. "That's good, baby. Do you like him?" The question was innocent. 4-year-olds didn't understand the weight their words could carry. Naomi set down the wine bottle carefully. He's a good person." "But do you like him?" Kiara looked up now. Those big eyes so curious, so trusting. "It's complicated, sweetheart." "Is it because of Aiden?" Naomi's stomach clenched. "What do you mean?" "Emma at school says when mommies have boyfriends, it means they might get a new daddy." "Is Aiden going to be my daddy?" Before Naomi could answer, the doorbell rang. Perfect timing. She didn't know how to answer that question anyway. "That's probably Aiden now," Naomi said, grateful for the interruption. "He's joining us for dinner, remember?" Kiara's face lit up. She liked Aiden. He was good with her, patient and playful in appropriate doses. He brought her books and sometimes helped with her homework. He was stable, reliable. Everything Ji-hoon hadn't been, everything Ji-hoon was trying to be now, a voice whispered in the back of Naomi's mind. She crushed it. She opened the door and there stood Aiden, impeccably dressed even in casual clothes, holding a bouquet of peonies and a wrapped present. "For you," he said, handing her the flowers and kissing her cheek. "And for the princess." He held up the gift. "Aiden." Kiara jumped down from her stool and ran over. "What is it?" "Open it and see." Kiara tore into the wrapping paper with the enthusiasm only children possessed. Inside was a book about marine biology, beautifully illustrated. "Because you told me last week you wanted to study ocean animals," Aiden said, crouching down to her level. "I thought this might help." "Thank you." Kiara hugged the book to her chest, then surprised Aiden with a hug too. Naomi watched the interaction, her chest tight with something she couldn't name. This was good. This was what she wanted. A stable man who cared about her daughter, who remembered the small details, who showed up consistently without the baggage of devastating betrayal. So why did it feel wrong? They had dinner together, the three of them, at the dining table. Kiara chattered about her day, about the zoo, about the sea lions and Mr. Ji-hoon and Buddy too. Aiden listened patiently, asking questions, seeming genuinely interested. But Naomi noticed something. A slight tightening around his eyes every time Kiara mentioned Ji-hoon's name, a forced quality to his smile when Kiara talked about how funny Mr. Ji-hoon was. After dinner, after Kiara was bathed and in bed with her new marine biology book, Aiden and Naomi sat on her couch with wine. "She talks about him a lot," Aiden said carefully, swirling the red wine in his glass. Naomi didn't pretend not to know who he meant. "He's her father. She's getting to know him." "And how do you feel about that?" "I feel like it's what's best for Kiara." She took a sip of her wine, letting the bitter tannins coat her tongue. "He's been consistent, reliable, good with her." "That's not what I asked." Aiden set down his glass and turned to face her fully. "I asked how you feel about it, about him being back in your life." Naomi met his eyes. They were kind, concerned, patient, everything she needed them to be. He's not in my life, Aiden. He's in Kiara's life. There's a difference. Is there? His hand found hers, warm and solid. Because sometimes when you come back from those visits, you seem distant, like you're somewhere else. I'm just tired. Managing a company, being a mother, it's a lot. I know. And I want to help carry that weight. He squeezed her hand. I love you, Naomi. I love Kiara. I want to be here for both of you. But I need to know that you're all in. That when you look at me, you're not thinking about him. The accusation, gentle as it was, stung because there was truth in it. Sometimes she did think about Ji-hoon, about the way his face lit up when Kiara laughed, about how he looked at her like she was the only person in the world, even when she was treating him like a stranger. About the man he used to be, and the man he was trying to become. But thinking about someone and wanting them were two different things. She'd learned that lesson the hard way. I'm all in, she said firmly, turning her body toward him, taking his face in her hands. You're the man I'm with, the man I choose. Ji-hoon is the past. You're my present. And my future, she wanted to add, but the words stuck in her throat. Aiden kissed her then, slow and deep, and she kissed him back, pouring everything she had into it. Trying to prove to him and to herself that this was real, that this was enough. His hands were gentle, reverent, moving to her waist and pulling her closer. She let him, let herself get lost in the familiar comfort of his touch. When they finally pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. I'm glad, because I don't think I could handle losing you. Something about the way he said it made her chest tighten. Not with warmth, but with something else. Something she couldn't quite name. But she pushed it away, buried it deep where all her inconvenient feelings went to die. You're not going to lose me, she promised. He stayed over that night, and Naomi lay awake long after he'd fallen asleep beside her, staring at the ceiling. Her phone was on the nightstand, dark and silent. No texts from Ji-hoon. He never texted after their visits unless it was to confirm the next meeting. He respected her boundaries completely, which somehow made everything harder. She turned on her side, watched Aiden sleep. His face was peaceful, relaxed. He was handsome in that clean-cut, all-American way. Successful. Stable. He fit into her life seamlessly, attending her business events, charming her colleagues, being wonderful with Kiara. So why did it feel like something was missing? She closed her eyes and forced herself to sleep. 2 weeks later, Kiara's 5th birthday party arrived with all the chaos and joy that children's parties brought. Naomi had rented out a space at a popular children's entertainment venue, complete with an indoor playground, arcade games, and a private party room. 20 children from Kiara's preschool ran around screaming with sugar-fueled energy, while parents clustered in groups, making small talk and checking their phones. Naomi stood near the refreshment table, watching Kiara play with her friends. Her daughter wore a purple dress with sparkles and a crown that kept sliding sideways on her head. She looked so happy, so carefree, so blissfully unaware of all the adult complications swirling around her life. She's having a great time, Aiden said, appearing at her elbow with 2 cups of punch. He handed her one. You did good, babe. Thanks. She smiled at him, grateful for his presence. He'd helped with setup, had been charming to all the parents, had even volunteered to man the arcade tokens. Perfect boyfriend behavior. The door opened and Ji-hoon walked in, precisely on time as always. He wore dark jeans and a simple button-down, casual but still somehow elegant. He carried a wrapped present, not too big, not too small, perfectly appropriate. Naomi had debated whether to invite him, but it was Kiara's birthday, and Kiara had asked specifically if Mr. Ji-hoon would be there. How could she say no? Ji-hoon's eyes found hers across the room. She gave him a small nod, acknowledgement without welcome. He nodded back and stayed near the entrance, clearly uncertain where he fit in this scene. Aiden noticed, his hand finding the small of Naomi's back in a gesture that was both comforting and possessive. "I'll go say hi," Aiden said. "Make him feel welcome." "You don't have to." But Aiden was already walking over, his stride confident and easy. Naomi watched as the two men shook hands, exchanging words she couldn't hear over the noise of children playing. Ji-hoon's posture was stiff, formal. Aiden's was relaxed, confident. The contrast was striking. Kiara spotted Ji-hoon and let out a squeal that could probably be heard in New Jersey. She ran across the room, crown falling off completely now, and threw herself at him. "Mr. Ji-hoon, you came!" Ji-hoon caught her, lifting her up in a hug that made Naomi's chest constrict painfully. "Of course I came. It's your birthday. Happy birthday, Kiara." "Did you bring me a present?" "Kiara," Naomi called out mortified. "That's rude." But Ji-hoon just laughed, setting her down and crouching to her level. "I did bring you something, but you have to wait until present time with everyone else. That's the rule, right?" "Right," Kiara agreed, bouncing on her toes. "Come see the arcade, they have the dancing game." She grabbed his hand and dragged him toward the arcade area. Ji-hoon looked back at Naomi, silently asking permission. She gave a subtle nod and watched as her daughter pulled her father into the crowd of children. "He's good with her," Aiden said, returning to her side. "Yes." "Does that bother you?" Naomi turned to look at him. "Why would it bother me?" "Because he wasn't there for the first 4 years, and now he gets to walk in and be the fun dad at birthday parties." There was no bitterness in his voice, just observation, but it hit too close to home. Because yes, part of her resented it. Resented how easy it seemed for Ji-hoon now. How Kiara just accepted him without question. How he got to have these moments without having earned them through years of midnight feedings and teething pain and toddler tantrums. But another part of her, a part she tried very hard to ignore, was glad Kiara had him. Was glad her daughter's face lit up when he walked into a room. Was glad that despite everything, despite all the pain and betrayal and lost time, Kiara would know her father. "It doesn't bother me," she lied. "As long as Kiara's happy, that's all that matters." The party continued. Games were played, pizza was consumed, cake was cut. Kiara blew out her candles while everyone sang, her face glowing in the candlelight. She made a wish, something she whispered to herself before blowing out all 5 candles in one breath. Naomi wondered what she'd wished for. Probably something innocent like more toys or a puppy. Children's wishes were simple, uncomplicated by the weight of adult regrets. When it came time for presents, the children gathered in a circle on the floor while Kiara opened each gift with the appropriate amount of excitement. Ji-hoon hung back near the edge of the party room, giving space to the parents and other children. He looked like he wanted to be closer but didn't feel he had the right. Finally, Kiara reached Ji-hoon's present. She tore into the wrapping paper and pulled out a book. Not just any book, but a beautiful hardcover encyclopedia of dinosaurs and ocean animals combined, with stunning photographs and interactive elements. On the inside cover, in Ji-hoon's neat handwriting, was an inscription. "For Kiara, who wants to be both a paleontologist and a marine biologist, never stop dreaming big." Mr. Ji-hoon, Kiara's eyes went wide. "Mommy, look. It has both." "That's wonderful, baby." Naomi's voice sounded strange to her own ears. Kiara jumped up and ran to Ji-hoon, hugging him around the waist. "Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is the best present ever." Ji-hoon hugged her back, his eyes closing for just a moment. When he opened them, they met Naomi's across the room. There was something in his gaze, something raw and honest and completely devastating. Love. Pure, Uncomplicated, absolute love for the daughter he'd only known for weeks, but would clearly die for. Naomi looked away first. She always did. As the party wound down and parents collected their sugar-crashed children, Naomi stood by the exit thanking everyone for coming. Ji-hoon approached, clearly getting ready to leave. "Thank you for inviting me," he said quietly. "It meant a lot. Kiara wanted you here." "Still, thank you." He hesitated, then added, "The book wasn't too much, was it? I know you said appropriate gifts only, but I saw it and thought—" "It was perfect," Naomi interrupted. "She loved it." Relief flooded his face. "Good. That's good." They stood there in awkward silence, the noise of the venue fading into background static. There were things Naomi wanted to say, questions she wanted to ask. Like how he remembered that Kiara wanted to be both a paleontologist and marine biologist, something she'd mentioned only once in passing during one of their visits. Like why he'd taken the time to write such a thoughtful inscription. Like why seeing him with their daughter made her feel like she was being torn in two. But she said none of those things. Instead, she said, "Same time next Wednesday? I'll be there." He left through the venue's glass doors and Naomi watched him go. Watched him get into his car alone. Watched him sit there for a moment before starting the engine, his head bowed like he was gathering strength for something. "Ready to head home?" Aiden's voice broke through her thoughts. She turned to find him holding a sleepy Kiara, crown askew on her head again, the birthday girl thoroughly exhausted from her party. This was her life. This man holding her daughter. This steady, reliable, present man who wanted to build a future with her. "Yeah," she said, forcing a smile. "Let's go home." That night, after Kiara was asleep with her new encyclopedia clutched to her chest, and Aiden had gone back to his place with promises to see her tomorrow, Naomi stood in her home office staring at her computer screen. She couldn't focus on the quarterly reports in front of her. Her mind kept drifting to the party, to the way Kiara had looked at Ji-hoon, to the inscription in the book, to the expression on Ji-hoon's face when their daughter had hugged him. Her phone buzzed on the desk. A text from an unknown number, but she knew who it was. "Thank you again for today. Seeing her so happy was the greatest gift I could have asked for. She's lucky to have you as her mother. Ji-hoon." Naomi stared at the message for a long time. She should delete it. Should maintain the boundaries she'd so carefully constructed, but her fingers moved before her brain could stop them. She had a good day. Thank you for the book. It was thoughtful. 3 dots appeared immediately. He was waiting for her response. The thought made her stomach flip in a way she absolutely hated. "I remember everything she says. Every detail. I'm trying to make up for lost time." "You can't make up for lost time. It's gone." "I know. But I can be present for all the time ahead. If you'll let me." She should stop. Should say goodnight and put the phone down. But something in her needed to push back. Needed to remind him of the reality of their situation. "I'm with Aiden. That's not going to change." A longer pause this time. Then, "I know. He seems like a good man." "He is. Does he make you happy?" The question felt too intimate, too invasive. She should tell him it was none of his business. Should shut this conversation down completely. Instead, she found herself typing, "He makes me feel safe. That's more important." Is it? Yes, because happiness is fleeting. Safety is what you build a life on. "We were happy once, before I destroyed it." Her chest tightened. She remembered those days with painful clarity. The way Ji-hoon used to look at her like she hung the moon. The way he'd made her laugh until she couldn't breathe. The way his touch had set her entire body on fire. They'd been so stupidly, recklessly happy. And then it had all turned to ash. That was a lifetime ago. We're different people now. I'm different. I'm trying to be better. To be worthy of a second chance. You're getting a second chance. With Kiara. That's all I can give you. For now. But Naomi, I need you to know something. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to keep showing up. I'm going to keep proving myself. And maybe someday you'll look at me and see someone worth forgiving. The presumption of it infuriated her. The idea that he thought time and consistency could erase 4 years of pain, that he could waltz back into her life and expect her to just forgive him because he was being a good father now. Don't hold your breath. She turned off her phone and threw it on the couch across the room. Her hands were shaking. Why was she letting him get to her like this? Why couldn't she just feel nothing when it came to Park Ji-hoon? Because you're not over him, a voice whispered in the back of her mind. Because no matter how much you want to be, no matter how hard you try, part of you still remembers what it felt like to love him. She crushed that voice with all the force of her considerable will. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm. Wednesday afternoons with Ji-hoon and Kiara, evenings and weekends with Aiden. Work consuming the hours in between. Naomi compartmentalized her life with surgical precision, keeping each piece separate and contained. Ji-hoon in his box. Aiden in his. Work in its own sealed container. It was the only way she could function without falling apart. But cracks were starting to form. It was a Thursday evening and Naomi was working late in her office when her assistant knocked on the door. Ms. Williams? I'm heading out, but I wanted to let you know that IT flagged something this morning. Naomi looked up from her laptop. What kind of something? Someone tried to access your cloud files last night, around 2 a.m. It blocked it, but they said it was a sophisticated attempt, not some random hacker. A cold feeling settled in Naomi's stomach. Where did it come from? They're still tracing it. Should have more information by tomorrow. I just thought you should know. Thank you, Jennifer. Have a good night. After her assistant left, Naomi sat in the quiet office, unease prickling at the back of her neck. Tech Vista had top-tier security. Random hackers couldn't get anywhere near her systems, which meant this was targeted. Someone specifically wanted access to her files. But who? And why? She made a note to follow up with IT first thing in the morning and tried to push it out of her mind. She had a dinner meeting with potential investors in an hour. No time to spiral into paranoia. The following Wednesday brought another visit with Ji-hoon. This time, they went to the Natural History Museum, Kiara's absolute favorite place in the world. She dragged them through exhibit after exhibit, pointing out every dinosaur she knew by name, rattling off facts she'd learned from the encyclopedia Ji-hoon had given her. The Tyrannosaurus Rex had teeth that were 9 inches long, she announced to a room full of strangers, completely unbothered by her audience, and they could bite with a force of 12,000 pounds. Ji-hoon crouched down beside her, examining the massive skeleton with exaggerated seriousness. That's terrifying. Remind me never to time travel to the Cretaceous period. Kiara giggled. You can't time travel, silly. You don't know that. Science is discovering new things every day. Mr. Ji-hoon, Kiara said, her voice suddenly serious. Can I ask you something? Of course. Do you have a mommy and daddy? Naomi tensed. They were standing close enough that she could hear every word, but far enough away that she wasn't directly part of the conversation. I do, Ji-hoon said carefully. My mother passed away when I was young, but my father is still alive. Do you miss your mommy? Every day. I'm sorry. Kiara reached out and patted his arm with the unconscious compassion of children. That must make you sad. Sometimes. But talking about her makes me happy too. Remembering the good times we had together. What was she like? She was kind and smart, and she loved me very much, even when I made mistakes. His eyes found Naomi's over Kiara's head. Kind of like your mom loves you. Kiara beamed. My mommy is the best mommy in the whole world. I believe that. They moved on to the ocean exhibit. Kiara's second favorite, and spent an hour looking at the enormous blue whale model hanging from the ceiling. Ji-hoon lifted Kiara onto his shoulders so she could see better, and Naomi watched them from behind, this father and daughter who barely knew each other but were learning with every visit. Her phone buzzed. A text from Aiden. "Dinner tonight? I have something I want to talk to you about." Something about the message made her nervous. The phrasing was too careful, too serious. But she texted back, "Sure. My place at 7? Perfect. Love you." "Love you too." She pocketed her phone and focused back on Kiara and Ji-hoon. They were reading the informational placard about blue whales, Kiara pointing out words she could read. Ji-hoon's hand was steady on her back, keeping her balanced on his shoulders, his whole body angled to make sure she felt secure. He was good at this. Too good for someone who'd only been doing it for a few weeks. It should have made her happy. Instead, it made her chest ache with all the lost years, all the moments he'd missed, the first steps, the first words, the first time Kiara had said mama and meant it. He'd given up those moments, thrown them away when he'd pushed her out of his life. But he'd been dying. The reasonable part of her brain argued. He'd been trying to protect you from watching him waste away. Didn't matter. He still should have told her. Should have trusted her. The internal argument was one she'd had with herself 1,000 times. It never got anywhere, just circled endlessly like water down a drain. When their hour was up, they walked back to the museum entrance. Kiara held both their hands, swinging between them like she was on a swing set. Normal people probably thought they were a family. Mom, dad, and daughter on a museum outing. The picture of domestic happiness. If only they knew the truth. At the entrance, Kiara hugged Ji-hoon goodbye like she always did. But this time, she looked up at him with those two perceptive eyes and asked, "Mr. Ji-hoon, why don't you come to our house?" Naomi's heart stopped. "Kiara, Mr. Ji-hoon is busy." "I'm not busy," Ji-hoon said quietly, his eyes on Naomi. "I would love to come to your house, if your mom says it's okay." Both of them looked at her. Kiara with hopeful eyes, Ji-hoon with careful neutrality, not wanting to pressure but clearly wanting the answer to be yes. This was a line they hadn't crossed yet. All their visits had been in public, neutral spaces. Her home was her sanctuary, the place she'd built without him. Letting him into that space felt too intimate, too dangerous. "Maybe another time," Naomi said, and hated the disappointment that flashed across her daughter's face. "We have plans tonight, baby." "With Aiden?" "Yes." "Okay." Kiara's voice was small. She turned back to Ji-hoon. "Maybe next time?" "Maybe next time," he echoed, but his eyes said he knew exactly why Naomi had said no, and that he understood, even if it hurt. That evening, Aiden arrived at 7 on the dot with Chinese takeout and an expensive bottle of wine. They ate on her couch while Kiara played in her room, the easy domesticity of it all wrapping around Naomi like a comfortable blanket. "So," Aiden said, setting down his plate and turning to face her, "I wanted to talk to you about something." Here it was. Whatever had made him sound so serious in his text. Naomi set down her own plate and braced herself. "Okay. We've been together for almost 8 months now, and I know it hasn't been easy, especially with your ex coming back into the picture." He took her hand. "But I love you, Naomi. I love Kiara. And I want us to be a family. A real family." Oh God, was he about to propose? They'd talked about the future in vague terms, but this felt sudden. Too fast despite the time they'd been together. "Aiden. Wait. Let me finish." He squeezed her hand. "I've been thinking a lot about our future, about what we're building together. And I think it's time we took the next step." He pulled out a small box from his pocket and Naomi's heart started hammering. But when he opened it, it wasn't a ring inside. It was a key. "I want you to move in with me, you and Kiara. My place is bigger, and I know you love your penthouse, but I think it would be good for us to wake up together every morning, to have dinner together every night, to really build this life we keep talking about. Relief and disappointment warred in her chest. Relief that it wasn't a proposal. Disappointment that... What? She didn't want to marry Aiden, did she? That's a big step, she said carefully. I know, but I'm ready for it. The question is, are you? Was she? Moving in together meant commitment, meant blending their lives in a way that couldn't be easily undone, meant choosing Aiden definitively, publicly, permanently. It meant closing the door on any possibility of Ji-hoon. Not that there was a possibility. There wasn't. There couldn't be. Can I think about it? She asked. Something flickered in Aiden's eyes. Hurt, maybe. Or frustration. But he smiled and nodded. Of course. Take all the time you need, just don't take too long, okay? I need to know where we stand. I understand. He kissed her then, and she kissed him back, trying to feel the certainty she knew she should feel. This was what she wanted. A life with a good man who loved her and her daughter. Stability. Security. No more drama or heartbreak. So why did it feel like she was standing on the edge of a cliff, about to jump without knowing if there was water below or just rocks? Later that night, after Aiden had gone home and Kiara was asleep, Naomi sat in her home office with a glass of wine she wasn't drinking. The key Aiden had given her sat on the desk, gleaming under the lamplight. A simple piece of metal that represented so much more than access to an apartment. Her phone buzzed. Ji-hoon. Kiara asked me today if I could come to your house. I told her it was up to you. I don't want to overstep, but I want you to know that I would never do anything to make you uncomfortable. Your boundaries are important to me. She stared at the message. The respectful distance he always maintained. The way he never pushed even when she could see he wanted to. It would be easier if he fought her. If he demanded more. If he gave her a reason to keep him at arm's length beyond her own fear. She didn't respond. Just turned off her phone and sat in the dark, thinking about keys and boundaries and choices that felt like they would define the rest of her life. The next morning, across town, Ji-hoon sat in his hotel suite with his laptop open, video conferencing with his legal team in Seoul. It was late evening there, but his head lawyer had called an emergency meeting. Mr. Park, thank you for making time, Attorney Kim said, adjusting his glasses. We've completed the comprehensive due diligence review you requested on the Tech Vista partnership. And? Ji-hoon leaned forward. This was routine corporate procedure. He expected the usual liability assessments, patent reviews, financial analysis. There are some irregularities we believe you should be aware of. They concern the Choi Group. Ji-hoon's attention sharpened. What kind of irregularities? Attorney Kim pulled up documents on screen. Choi Industries has been very active in the past 8 months. We've identified several concerning patterns. Another lawyer, Kim's associate, jumped in. First, trademark filings. Choi Industries has filed for trademarks on products and services suspiciously similar to Tech Vista's upcoming launches. The names are different, but the descriptions are nearly identical. She pulled up side-by-side comparisons. The similarities were undeniable. How would they know about Tech Vista's product pipeline? Ji-hoon asked, though he was starting to get a sick feeling in his stomach. That's what concerned us. This information isn't public. Someone would need inside access. Attorney Kim continued. Second, we found evidence that Choi Industries has been preparing for a major acquisition. They've restructured their board, raised significant capital, established merger, frameworks, all the hallmarks of pre-acquisition positioning. Lots of companies prepare for acquisitions. That alone isn't suspicious. True, but the timing is interesting. Kim pulled up a timeline. All of this activity began approximately 8 months ago, which coincides with when Aiden Choi began his relationship with Ms. Williams. The sick feeling intensified. That could still be coincidence. It could. Except we found something else. Kim's face was grave. We did deeper research into Choi's business history. 3 years ago, he engaged in a nearly identical pattern with a smaller tech firm, Datacore Solutions. I'm not familiar with them. That's because they no longer exist. The CEO was a woman named Rebecca Morrison. Mr. Choi pursued her romantically, proposed marriage, gained access to company information through the relationship, then initiated a hostile takeover. The company was dissolved. Morrison lost everything. The settlement was sealed with NDAs. Ji-hoon felt like he'd been punched in the gut. You're telling me he's done this before? Yes, sir. And there's more. The associate pulled up stock purchase records. Choi Industries has been quietly buying up shares in TechVista's competitors over the past 6 months. Classic pre-acquisition maneuvering. Position yourself in the market, weaken the target's position, then strike. Kim added. And with the Park Industries partnership, TechVista's valuation is about to skyrocket. If Choi Industries can acquire TechVista now, before the partnership is publicly announced, he gets it at current market value. After the announcement, the acquisition would cost billions more. Does Naomi know any of this? We have no indication that she does. Ji-hoon stood up, pacing his hotel room. His mind was racing through every interaction he'd witnessed between Naomi and Aiden. The way Aiden was always there, always attentive, always asking questions about her business. The timing of their relationship, the way he'd inserted himself into Kiara's life. It was all calculated. All of it. Send me everything, Ji-hoon said. Every document, every timeline, every piece of evidence you have. Sir, what are you going to do? I'm going to warn her. Mr. Park, with respect, your relationship with Miss Williams is complicated. She may not believe you. She may think you're trying to sabotage her current relationship. I don't care what she thinks of me. I care that she's being used by a man who's done this before. She needs to know. His lawyers exchanged glances but began sending the files. Within minutes, Ji-hoon's email was flooded with documents, trademark filings, corporate restructuring papers, stock purchases, the sealed court documents from the Datacore case that his lawyers had obtained through legal channels, a timeline that was damning in its precision. Ji-hoon's hands shook as he reviewed everything. This was the man Naomi was with, the man she trusted. And he was playing her like a chess piece, positioning himself to take everything she'd built. Over my dead body, Ji-hoon thought. He grabbed his phone and called Naomi. It went straight to voicemail. He texted, Naomi, I need to talk to you. It's urgent. It's about Aiden. No response. He tried calling again. Voicemail again. He checked the time. 10 a.m. She'd be at her office, probably in meetings. He couldn't wait for her to call back. This couldn't wait. Ji-hoon grabbed his jacket and headed for the door. He'd go to TechVista headquarters. Make her listen. She'd be angry, would probably throw him out, but she needed to know. She needed to see what he'd found. 20 minutes later, he stood in the gleaming lobby of TechVista's building. The receptionist eyed him warily. I need to see Naomi Williams. It's urgent. Do you have an appointment, sir? No, but she knows me. Tell her Park Ji-hoon needs to speak with her immediately. The receptionist made a call. After a brief conversation, she hung up and gave him an apologetic look. Ms. Williams is in meetings all afternoon. Her assistant says she's not available. This can't wait. Tell her it's about Aiden Choi. Another call. More hushed conversation. Finally, the receptionist nodded toward the elevators. Her assistant will meet you on the executive floor. Ji-hoon rode the elevator up, his heart pounding. He'd promised to respect Naomi's boundaries, to only contact her about Kiara. But this was bigger than their personal drama. This was her company, her life's work. everything she'd built from the ashes of their marriage. The elevator doors opened and Naomi's assistant Jennifer stood waiting. She looked stressed. "Mr. Park, Ms. Williams can give you 10 minutes, sir. She has an investor call in 20. I need more than 10 minutes. That's all she has." Jennifer led him to a conference room. Through the glass walls, he could see the Tech Vista offices, employees working, the energy of a successful tech company. Everything Naomi had created, everything Aiden Choi wanted to take from her. The door opened and Naomi walked in. She was in full CEO mode, power suit, and no-nonsense expression. When she saw him, her face hardened. "What are you doing here? We have a schedule, Ji-hoon. You don't just show up at my office." "I had my legal team look into Aiden." Her expression turned to ice. "You did what?" "Just listen." He pulled out the documents, spreading them on the conference table. "It's standard due diligence for the Park Industries partnership. They flagged some concerns." "You investigated my boyfriend?" Her voice was deadly quiet. "Naomi, please. Look at the documents. The trademark filings, the acquisition preparations, the timeline." "No." She stepped back from the table. "You don't get to do this. You don't get to interfere in my life like this. He's using you. Look at the evidence. He's done this before, with another CEO. Her name was Rebecca Morrison." "Stop." Naomi's hands were clenched into fists at her sides. "This is pathetic. Even for you." "What?" "You're so desperate to get me back that you'd fabricate evidence against a good man? That you'd try to sabotage the first healthy relationship I've had since you destroyed me? I'm not fabricating anything." Ji-hoon grabbed the documents, holding them out. "These are public records, corporate filings, legal documents. Everything here is real." Naomi looked at the papers in his hands, and for a moment, just a moment, he saw doubt flicker in her eyes. But then her face closed off completely. "Get out." "Naomi, get out." Her voice rose. "And stay away from me. You can see Kiara on our scheduled days, but don't you dare contact me about anything else. Don't call. Don't text. Don't show up at my office with conspiracy theories about my life." "This isn't a conspiracy theory." "I said get out." The door opened and 2 security guards appeared, clearly called by Jennifer, who must have been monitoring the situation. Ji-hoon looked at Naomi's face, saw the fury and pain and absolute conviction that he was wrong, and knew there was nothing he could say that would make her listen. He gathered the documents and walked to the door, but he stopped and turned back. "When you're ready to see the truth, these documents will still exist. And when that happens, when you realize I was trying to protect you, I'll be here. Because unlike him, I actually love you." He left before she could respond, before security could escort him out. In the conference room, Naomi stood alone, shaking with rage and something else she couldn't name. She looked at the table where Ji-hoon had spread those documents. One had fallen on the floor. She picked it up. It was a corporate filing from Choi Industries, a board restructuring proposal dated 8 months ago, the same month Aiden had started pursuing her. Coincidence, she told herself. Just coincidence. But her hands were shaking as she threw the paper in the trash. That evening, Aiden arrived at Naomi's apartment with flowers and a smile, completely unaware of the storm brewing. "Hey, beautiful," he said, kissing her cheek and handing her the bouquet. "Roses this time, red and perfect." "How was your day?" "Fine," Naomi lied, taking the flowers to the kitchen. Her day had been anything but fine. She couldn't stop thinking about those documents, about Ji-hoon's face when she'd thrown him out, about the corporate filing she'd retrieved from the trash and hidden in her desk drawer. "Just fine?" Aiden followed her, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind. "You seem tense." "Just work stress." "Anything I can help with?" There it was. The offer to help. The interest in her business. Was it genuine concern or something else? Stop it, she told herself. Ji-hoon planted these seeds of doubt and you're letting them grow. No, I'm good, just tired. Aiden turned her around to face him, his hands on her shoulders. Have you thought any more about what we discussed? About moving in together? The key. The commitment. The future he wanted to build. I'm still thinking about it. Something flickered in his expression. Frustration, barely masked. It's been almost a week, Naomi. How much more time do you need? I don't know. It's a big decision. Is it? We love each other. We're good together. Kiara likes me. What's holding you back? Everything, she wanted to say. Nothing. I don't know anymore. I just need more time. Aiden's jaw tightened. Then he took a breath and forced a smile. Okay. Take the time you need. But Naomi, I can't wait forever. At some point, I need to know if we're building something real or if I'm just a placeholder until you figure out what you want. That's not fair, isn't it? He stepped back. Your ex-husband shows up and suddenly you're hesitant about us. You think I haven't noticed? The way you look at him when he's with Kiara? The way you tense up every time his name is mentioned? This has nothing to do with Ji-hoon. Doesn't it? Aiden's voice was sharp now, his carefully maintained patience cracking. Because from where I'm standing, it has everything to do with him. Before Naomi could respond, her phone buzzed on the counter. A notification lit up the screen. An email from an anonymous sender with the subject line, "You deserve to know the truth." She picked up the phone, opened the email. Attached were documents, dozens of them, corporate filings, stock purchases, IP addresses traced to Choi Industries, and at the bottom, a simple message. Check your company's financial access logs. Cross-reference with Choi Industries' IP addresses. He's been inside your system for months. The truth is, in the data. A friend. Naomi's blood ran cold. Her IT director had mentioned the cloud breach, the attempted access to her files, all from IP addresses connected to Choi Industries. She looked up at Aiden, who was watching her with an expression she couldn't read. What is it? He asked. Nothing. Just work. She set the phone down, screen facing down, her mind racing. Aiden stepped closer, reaching for her. Naomi, I love you. You know that, right? Everything I do is because I love you and want a future with us. She looked into his eyes, searching for the truth. Searching for some sign that Ji-hoon was wrong, that this anonymous email was wrong, that the man she'd been building a life with wasn't using her. I know, she said, but the words felt hollow. Good. He pulled her close, kissing her forehead. Because I have something else I want to ask you. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Naomi's heart stopped. I know I said we'd start with moving in together, but I've been thinking, why wait? Life's too short. We love each other. We're good together. He opened the box, revealing a stunning diamond ring. Naomi Williams, will you marry me? The world tilted. Naomi stared at the ring, at Aiden's hopeful face, at the future he was offering. Security, stability, a father for Kiara, everything she'd told herself she wanted, but all she could see were those documents spread across her conference table. Ji-hoon's desperate face, the corporate timeline that was too perfect to be coincidence, the email on her phone with evidence she hadn't looked at yet, but somehow knew would confirm everything Ji-hoon had tried to tell her. Aiden, Her phone buzzed again. Another email notification. This one from her IT director marked urgent. Complete analysis attached. IP trace confirms. All unauthorized access attempts originated from Choi Industries headquarters. Recommend immediate legal consultation. The words blurred in front of her eyes. It was true. All of it was true. She looked up at Aiden, at the ring, at the man who'd been playing her for 8 months. The man who'd used her daughter as a way to get close. The man who'd whispered, "I love you," while planning to destroy everything she'd built. Naomi? Aiden's voice was careful now. "Did you hear me? I asked you to marry me." She took a step back, then another. Her mind was racing, piecing together every moment, every question about her business, every perfectly timed gesture of support. It had all been calculated, all of it. "Naomi, what's wrong? You're scaring me." She picked up her phone, held up the screen showing the IT director's email. "How long were you planning to wait before you made your move? Before the acquisition? Were you going to marry me first? Use that to get insider access? Or was the proposal just another tactic?" The color drained from Aiden's face. "What are you talking about?" "Don't." Her voice was deadly quiet. "Don't lie to me. Not now. I have the evidence. The trademark filings, the stock purchases, the IP addresses accessing my systems. All of it traces back to you." For a long moment, Aiden said nothing. The mask he'd been wearing for 8 months slowly slipped away, replaced by something colder, something calculating. "Who told you?" he asked finally. "Ji-hoon? It doesn't matter who told me. What matters is that it's true." Aiden laughed, but there was no humor in it. Of course it was him. He's been trying to sabotage us from the beginning. He was trying to warn me, and I didn't believe him. Her voice cracked. "I threw him out of my office. I called him pathetic. And he was right. About all of it." "Naomi, you're misunderstanding. Was any of it real?" She cut him off. "Did you ever actually love me? Or was I just a target? A means to an acquisition?" Aiden's jaw tightened. "Does it matter?" The casual cruelty of the question took her breath away. "Get out. Naomi, get out of my home. Now, before I call security and have you arrested for corporate espionage." He stood there for a moment longer, the ring box still open in his hand. Then he snapped it shut, pocketed it, and walked to the door. But he stopped and turned back. "You're making a mistake. This deal would have been good for both of us. Tech Vista merged with Choi Industries. We could have been unstoppable. But you're too blinded by your past to see the opportunity in front of you. The only mistake I made was trusting you." After he left, Naomi stood in her empty apartment shaking. Not with sadness, but with rage. Pure, incandescent rage at being used, at being played, at being so desperate for stability that she'd ignored every red flag. She picked up her phone and pulled up Ji-hoon's contact. Her finger hovered over the call button. She'd thrown him out. She'd told him to stay away. She'd chosen Aiden over his warnings. And he'd been right all along. The phone rang once before he answered, his voice breathless. "Naomi?" "You were right," she said, and her voice broke on the words. "About everything. He was using me. It was all fake. All of it. Where are you? Are you safe?" "I'm home. He's gone. She stopped, overwhelmed. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't believe you." "Don't apologize. Are you okay?" "No." The tears came then, hot and furious. "I'm not okay. I feel like an idiot. I let him into my life, into Kiara's life, and he was a predator. And you did nothing wrong. Do you hear me? Nothing. He's done this before. You're not the first, Naomi. You're just the first who found out in time." She sank onto her couch, the phone pressed to her ear, and let herself break. Not for Aiden, she realized. She wasn't crying for him. She was crying from the exhaustion of holding herself together for so long. From the weight of always having to be strong, always having to be in control, always having to protect herself from being hurt again. "I need you to do something for me," Ji-hoon said gently. "What?" "Check on Kiara. Make sure she's okay." The words jolted her back to reality. Kiara. God, Kiara had loved Aiden, had trusted him, had started to think of him as a potential father. "She's at my mom's tonight," Naomi said. She didn't see anything? Good. Keep it that way. She doesn't need to know what he was. They sat in silence on the phone, connected but separated by the city between them, by 4 years of pain, by everything that had happened and everything that hadn't. Thank you, Naomi said finally, for trying to warn me, even when I wouldn't listen. Always, Ji-hoon said quietly. I'll always try to protect you, even when you hate me for it. If you're hooked and need to know what happens next, hit that subscribe button right now. Naomi just discovered the truth about Aiden, but what does this mean for her and Ji-hoon? Can she ever trust anyone again? And how will she protect her company from Aiden's acquisition plans? Drop a comment below. Are you team Ji-hoon deserves a second chance? Or team Naomi should stay single and focus on herself? Smash that like button if you're living for this drama, because episode 4 is going to be absolutely explosive.